Hey guys, I'm Zizzle back again. Here to look at the Week 3 Sunday slate. So the Week 3 main slate, all the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games. Switched up a little bit this week. Usually been working on DraftKings, but I'm going to focus on FanDuel for this week. Obviously, the plays that I like and mention here can be utilized on DraftKings as well, but I thought to switch it up for this video, we'll look at the FanDuel pricing. I usually do play both sites. I actually do kind of prefer FanDuel and usually do a little bit better there, but I do play on both. So let's hop right into things and go position by position, throw out some picks, some guys that I'm going to look to roster, and then we'll go ahead and kind of build a sample cash lineup for the weekend. So if we start at quarterback, obviously Patrick Mahomes is the highest priced QB this week, and probably rightly so. He's been absolutely tearing it up, and it's hard not to play him at the moment. I'm probably going to fade him for the most part this week. I think he's got to come back down to earth sooner or later. I just can't keep up this crazy high level of play. It's just not sustainable. Although this matchup is, really juicy one. San Francisco doesn't have the best defense. He's home. I think that, Kansas City's defense is awful and gives up tons of points, so you're kind of constantly going to be in shootouts. But he's really expensive, $8,900. So if you can fit him in, go for it. He's obviously a solid play, but I'm not going to be targeting too much of him just because of that price point. I think there are some other guys. So we move down the list. Obviously, can't go wrong with Rodgers. Cousins, I think, is going to either have a really big day because they just score really early and he's part of everything, or potentially he gets kind of screwed out of things and they score a couple touchdowns on the ground and then they're up big and Cousins maybe isn't involved really at all in the second half, or at least in the fourth quarter, because I think Minnesota absolutely thrashes Buffalo. So I'm going to kind of avoid him as well just for that reason. Drew Brees I really like. You get to save a couple of bucks off of the top guys. He's in a really great game. New Orleans and Atlanta are always really high scoring. It's in a dome, and it's going to be, just a back and forth game, really close as well. Atlanta's even favored, so New Orleans is going to be passing the ball a lot. Obviously, Kamara is great out of the backfield, so, they're more of a passing team than running team in general, and it's just a really good matchup. So I like Breeze, but he is, again, up there, 8,500, so just keep that in mind that you're going to have to, take some chances in other spots. Cam Newton is someone that I kind of like as well. I really like him actually over on DraftKings. He's a lot cheaper. But again, I think he's just a solid play. He's at home this week. He got the running threat. He got the passing threat. Someone I'm not going to target here on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, he's a lot more intriguing. Matt Ryan is someone I like as well. Just because of this game, it's going to be high scoring. They're home. He plays better at home and in the dome. This has got a really high Vegas total in general, so Atlanta's going to put up points. So he's got to be looked at as someone that we're going to consider. New Orleans is also, I think they have a much better than they've showed, a defense since that they've showed through the first 2 weeks of the season, but they haven't looked good. Fitzpatrick lit him up. And, why can't Matt Ryan, who I think is, regressed a little bit over the last year or two from where he was playing at his MVP level. But still, he's got weapons in Julio and Tevin Coleman, and just in a good spot where this game's going to be high scoring. So I do like Matt Ryan. Love him on DraftKings since he's very, very cheap. FanDuel, solid play, but there are some other guys that I probably like better. And that brings me to one of those guys, which is Deshaun Watson. I just think they're due. I think Houston's better than they've shown so far. The Giants are not very good. I think Houston's going to get a lot of opportunities to score the ball. They're going to get opportunities in good places on the field just because the Giants struggle so much on offense that I just don't see them consistently moving the ball. And that's going to give Watson, more opportunities to put up some points. And this is their first home game. They've started on the road to start the year. they get to play finally at home. I think that gives them a little bit of a bump and a boost. So I do like Watson a lot. The Giants also are banged up on defense. Eli Apple is going to be out of the game, so that leaves a suspect corner having to cover probably Fuller. I'm expecting Janoris Jenkins will be on Hopkins, but maybe even at times Hopkins will get the weaker corner as well if they move him around a little bit. So I like Watson a lot this week, and he's a little, he's cheaper than a bunch of these other top guys. I think that people may not be on him as much due to just him not playing great to start the year, but I like him a lot. I think Goff's an okay play, not bad. I think that this game can end up being a little bit more of a shootout than maybe some people think. The Chargers score points. The Rams are going to have to put up points as well, so I don't hate that play. And then really the two other plays that I like here is Jimmy Garoppolo and Carson Wentz. Garoppolo, Kansas City's defense has been terrible so far. They've been in high-scoring games. Their offense also scores 1 million points, like we said earlier, so they're going to score on San Francisco. Jimmy's going to have to throw the football. He's going to be throwing the football late into the game. I mean, they could be down 20 points, and he's just throwing the ball to get them back into the game. So I think it's just a really good matchup. I'm hoping that Marquise Goodwin plays. That gives him actually his main target back, another weapon. He's really kind of just lacking some weapons, and right now with the injury there, and I think it's hurting him a little bit where he just doesn't have great talent around him. But this is such a good matchup, and just going to be a really high-scoring game, and a game where they're going to be playing from behind. So I like Jimmy Garoppolo a lot. And then Wentz, first game back, he's got a good matchup at home against Indy. We don't know how he's going to be, but I'm willing to take the flyer on him. I'm going to have a little bit of Wentz just because he's super talented, and I think it's just a really good matchup. So, and for 7,400, a lot cheaper than he may end up being down the line. So maybe we want to take advantage of getting him at a pretty good price point. So those are kind of the guys that I'm going to be looking towards. I don't love anybody else. Just the guys I mentioned as the main targets for me. So let's throw Jimmy Garoppolo in the lineup for now and have him be our quarterback. Let's move now to running back. Obviously, starts at the top with Gurley and Kamara. Both have been really good. Both are studs. And I think both are in really good matchups. The problem is they're just super expensive. And I don't know if we can fit them in the lineup. We're going to have to see. There's also a lot of good value plays at running back this week. So I love them, especially Kamara. You saw what Christian McCaffrey did to Atlanta. They funnel all the passing attack to the running back. And Kamara's the best threat as far as a pass catcher out of the backfield in the NFL. And that's a recipe for a huge fantasy day. So I think he may lead the slate in points, but it's just, how are we going to fit him in? So we got to see if we can get him in a lineup. I'd love to, and I'm going to make it work a little bit, but I don't know if he'll be in the main cash lineup just for that price, but we're going to see what we could do. If we move down the list, Melvin Gordon, he's getting up there price-wise, but again, he's done nothing but perform. He gets tons of targets. The Rams D does scare me a little bit, so I'm not going to have a lot of him, but I don't think it's a terrible play. Zeke is all Dallas has. I just don't like their offense in general, and going up to Seattle. I just think it's going to be a really ugly game. But GPP, don't hate it. Saquon, same situation, kind of as Zeke, where he's getting the ball a lot. He's going to get the ball a lot, but I don't like the matchup. The Giants' offense is just not good. Their line is so poor that it's just not letting them do anything offensively. Eli looks washed up. But I don't hate Saquon because he just gets so many touches. I mean, we look last week, he had 14 catches on 16 targets. and he's getting 11 rushes. So, the guy's getting 27 opportunities to touch the football. That's a lot of opportunities for running back. And I think that he'll be a little overlooked probably as well, just because he's kind of at a weird price point, 8,000. Are you going to pay up? So I kind of like him in GPPs. Don't know if I'm going to target him as much in a cash lineup. Kareem Hunt's interesting to me because I think Kansas City's putting up a lot of points, but it's been all about the pass game. No one's been talking about Kareem Hunt. No one's been on him. He's going to have a day here where maybe Mahomes throws for all the yards, but they run it in. And I could see him having 2 touchdowns this week. And that would be a big day for him. So I think he's really sneaky in the GPPs. Not going to go for him in cash, but tournaments and 100-mans, 20-mans, you want to take a shot there? Like it a lot. McCaffrey, he just does everything right now for Carolina's offense. I mean, it's Cam and McCaffrey. 14 catches last week. I'd like to see them run him a little more and get him some red zone work and goal line work where he can actually get into the end zone because he just hasn't scored up to this point in the year, and that's limiting kind of his upside to an extent. But I don't think you could go wrong playing him just because he's getting so many targets. Some other guys I like. Jordan Howard, I think, is in a really good matchup. Chicago goes to Arizona, who's been trashed this year. They should win the game pretty comfortably, which means they're going to be running the football and run the game out. Gives more opportunity to Howard. And he's been pretty solid this year so far. Just as far as being involved and more in the pass game. So that's kind of been intriguing to me. So I think that he's a solid play. And for this price point, pretty good. Tevin Coleman, like a lot. Again, you get more of that Atlanta-New Orleans game, which is going to be high scoring. And Coleman's just a good back. I think he's better than Freeman. And people are finally starting to realize that. So, like that play. Drake's another guy I'm looking at, Kenyon Drake, just because Oakland has not been good. Miami gets them at home. And if we look at what Drake's been doing, nothing great. He had the touchdown last week. But he gets he gets a couple of targets. He gets he's involved in the pass game. He's involved in the rush game. And Oakland's not that great of a defense. So I'm looking at him a little bit. Again, do I love him? And am I going to go to him? Probably not. But if you need a fit, that type of guy in your lineup, I'm totally not against it. So we keep going down here. I don't love any of the guys in this range too much. Thompson, not bad for a GPP. He's just catching so many footballs, but I don't know that I'm going to go there. So now we get down to where there's kind of some cheaper guys that I'm really liking. So Breda, again, you just get more exposure to a really high-scoring game. And listen, the guy's been producing. He's leading the league in rushing, 138 yards last week. He's the pass-catching back, too. They're going to be playing from behind. I think Breda's pretty solid play this week. Really do. We keep going, and here we go. This guy, Corey Clement. Now, I'm not sure if Ajayi's officially been ruled out as I'm doing this video, but I know he did not practice again today on Friday, and that's not a good sign. So I'm assuming Clement is going to be the main running back for them this week. Sproles is also out, so he's going to be the main guy for them, both on third downs, pass catching catching the football on passing downs, and running the ball as well. And they get a good matchup against Indy. Wentz is back. They're going to move the football way better than they have been with Foles. And at 5,800, I think you got to play him. There's 3 backs that now are cheaper options, and I think you got to play 2 of the 3. And I wouldn't even say you're crazy if you went all 3. And that's Corey Clement, Latavius Murray, and Giovani Bernard. So I'm trying to see. Let's type in Bernard. I think we might have passed him. So if we got Giovani Bernard was 6,400, so he's a little bit more expensive, but gonna get all the carries that Mixon's out, and he catches the ball. So Gio is good, and then Murray because Dalvin Cook has just been ruled out. So I'm gonna go Murray, Clement, just because they're a little cheaper, and I really like them as players as well, and kind of what their roles are gonna be. Especially Murray, they're gonna be up big and just gonna run the clock out. So he's gonna get tons of carries late. And that leaves us with almost 7,000 per player for the rest of the lineup. So let's move now to wide receiver and see what we have there. So Michael Thomas has just been getting insane targets, insane. He's been catching everything. I mean, 17 targets, 13 targets. He's got 28 of his 30 catches, 28 of his 30 targets. And he's in a great spot. Great game with a great quarterback who thrives in domes. Love it. He's 9,000 now. So can we fit him in? You know, you'd love to do Thomas and Kamara. That would be an unbelievable stack there, but they're both so expensive. I don't know that we could make that work. Julio, I think, is in part of the same game on the other side. He torches New Orleans a lot. He's better at home. It's going to be high scoring. He does have the calf, but I think he's going to be okay. So, like Julio a lot. Hopkins, I'm probably only going to be on in my Watson lineups, but like I said, I think that Houston just has kind of their breakout performance. They're at home. They're banged up. Giants defense coming into town. They're terrible offense who can't move the football. And the Giant defense is going to be spending a lot of time on the field. I think people are kind of overlooking Houston. I tweeted about this earlier today. I think they get a big bump DFS-wise and from a gambling perspective as well with those injuries from the Giants defense. So some other guys that we'll talk about that I like. Diggs and Thielen are in great matchups, but it's how much do they play, and that kind of worries me. Because Minnesota's going to get up big. The question is how. How are they going to do it? Is Diggs going to get, or Thielen going to be able to put up the numbers that you need to meet value in probably 2.5 quarters of work? Because it could be, 27-3 in the third quarter, and then they're done. And then you miss out on all those opportunities. So were they so part of those 27 points that it was fine? Or did they score in other ways, and then you kind of get screwed out of missing a whole quarter of action from them? So I'm not going to be heavily on them, but they're in a great spot. And for some reason Buffalo hangs, then wow, great spot. Tyreek Hill, guy's been phenomenal, and just a great matchup, high-scoring game. Can never go wrong playing Tyreek Hill. Davante Adams, another guy. I think people are not going to be on the Packers very much, and I think that when you have Aaron Rodgers, number one target is always a valuable play no matter what. And we've kind of seen that through the first 2 weeks. 17 and 16, 8 targets, 12 targets. The guy scores touchdowns, tons of touchdowns. He gets the ball, and I think he's sneaky for GPPs. I don't think a lot of people are going to be on him. I think Keenan Allen's another one of those spots. A lot of people are going to avoid him because of the Rams. I think the Rams probably get a pretty big and a sizable lead, and the Chargers are going to have to throw and come back, and Phillip Rivers is phenomenal at that. It's just like racking up yards and points late in games, and Keenan Allen's going to be part of that. Will Fuller, we mentioned when we were talking about Deshaun Watson, that he's going to get a really good matchup from a cornerback perspective, and who's going to be covering him with Eli Apple out for the Giants. And it seems like every time he plays with Watson, they just have an unbelievable day. So 21 points, he got the touchdown. He's getting targeted even more than last year. So I really like Will Fuller this week. Really like him. We keep getting down here under the 7K range. Emmanuel Sanders, I'm going to keep riding him. Baltimore is a tough defense. I think Baltimore is way tougher at home than on the road. But he's going to get a slot. He plays in the slot, and the main threat last week when you watched the Ravens-Bengals game was A.J. Green when he was moved into the slot. They took advantage of that. They saw that as a weakness, and Sanders is going to play in that position and be able to attack that slot corner. So I think that he's a solid play this week in cash. We keep moving down here. Robert Woods is a guy that no one's been on, and he's leading the Rams in targets. He's leading them in air yards. I forget what. There's one other stat that he's leading them in pretty much every main category you're looking for a receiver. He's leading the team in, but he's just not getting the touchdowns or the big plays yet to justify getting the attention. So here he is at 6,700. He keeps getting the volume. It's going to happen. It's just that's how this game works. He's going to keep getting opportunity. He's going to come through. So he's someone, especially from a GPP point of view, that I'm going to look to say no one's on him. No one's been seeing the big weeks for him unless you really dig deep and understand just how involved he's been and how involved they've been trying to get him. You're not going to be on him. Nelson Aguilar, I like too. Wentz comes back. Alshon Jeffrey's still out. So it's Aguilar and Ertz. That's all that they have. They really just don't have many other options to throw the football to. And Aguilar's been taking advantage of that. He's been getting double-digit targets. So that's not going to change even with Wentz back. He's got to throw the ball to somebody, and Aguilar's the main target on the outside. So I do like Aguilar a lot. Some interesting guys here at this price point. Allen Robinson, 6,500. If he's going to get that type of target share, he's too cheap. He's just too cheap. I mean, if you look at him at DraftKings too, I believe he's 5,500 or 5,400. It's just too cheap for a guy that got 14 targets last week. If he's going to get this amount of targets, then he's going to be a threat. And he's got the big playability. They have a really good matchup. Arizona's not a good team. So I don't think he's a bad play at all. Keelan Cole, another one, Jacksonville. It's just with me, you don't know. Is it going to be him? Is it going to be D.D. Westbrook? It seems like Cole's kind of the main guy, and Westbrook is secondary, but I don't know that he's taken over fully that position as the go-to guy week in, week out. So GPP, like it. Cash, not gonna go there. We move down to some cheaper options here. If you want more exposure to the San Fran Kansas City game, I don't think Watkins is a bad play. Marquise Goodwin is another one. We're going to go Garoppolo here, do we want to team him up with Goodwin? The point is, does Goodwin play? Here, Kyle Shanahan indicated that it'll be a game time decision. He's not there, but they're hopeful that he will be on Sunday. If he plays on Sunday, I like him a lot. High-scoring game. He's Jimmy's main target. They seem to have something together. You saw that last year. So if he's going to play, I like him. Keep going down. There's not much else that I am a big fan of. I just don't see anything else that I'm in love with. And I don't think we have to go there with the value at running back. I think we can pay up a little bit. So I'm going to just kind of leave receiver for now. We'll come back and see what we can do, throwing some pieces in. Because there's not one guy I think that stands out that I need to have. I'd love to have a Thomas or a Julio, but I'm going to, and should be able to get one of them in, but I'm just going to see where I'm at first in building the lineup. So we move down to tight end. Kelsey, big week last week. Opportunities are going to be there every week with Mahomes as his quarterback. It's just you don't know who's going to get the touchdowns. He got them last week and kind of got a lot of the targets as well. If we take a look here, 10 targets. But they do spread the ball around. So, and he's expensive at $7,500. I'm not one to pay up for tight end, but he's a good play. Ertz I like a lot with Wentz coming back. Favorite target last year for Wentz was Ertz. I had Ertz on my season-long fantasy team last year, and it was just a guarantee, 15 points. He found him all the time, and was really the main guy that he would look for. So if you're going to pay up a tight end, I think Ertz actually is probably my favorite play. but I, again, prefer to pay a little bit further down. So if we get down into some of the cheaper options, Jordan Reed is always someone that you got to look at. Green Bay's defense still just hasn't looked like it's improved that much. And Alex Smith does love the tight end. But the guys that I'm going to really focus on is Kittle, Burton, and Ebron. I know that Kittle let us down last week. We liked him a lot. But it's just such a good matchup. It really is a good matchup. Kansas City got thrashed by Jesse James last week, who's not as good of a player as George Kittle. So I'm going back to the well. I am going back. I also think people might be off him and be like, oh, he had a bad week last week. I'm going to go away from him. I think that's silly. But Burton, again, he's just in a good matchup, and we're waiting. We're waiting for him to really break out. He's getting 6 targets, 4. He had the touchdown, but we're waiting for him to break out and start being more involved. He hasn't been as of yet. This looks like a good matchup where it could happen. And then Ebron is going to be the only tight end now for Indy because Doyle's out. So this actually does become a decision in a way. If there's like someone that we want to get up to that we can with the 300 extra, I may move down to Ebron because Andy Luck loves the tight ends, and Ebron's been scoring touchdowns. Even with Doyle, he's been getting targets and touchdowns. So now he's going to get all of it. So Ebron's a really good play, and I'm going to have a lot of him. I think it's really between Kittle and Ebron for me. I'm not going to really go for many other people. Like I mentioned Burton, but I just think that if you can, why pay up a little bit for Burton when Ebron's probably in a better spot, has been performing better throughout the year, and has a more competent quarterback who especially looks for the tight end. So let's stick with Kittle now, but we may be coming off that and go down to Ebron. And now that brings us to defense. So the easy choice on D is the Vikings. They're going to kill Buffalo. It's going to be a bloodbath. Things could get really ugly, and then you may have needed Minnesota because I think a lot of people are going to be on them. Or they could just kind of shut them out, get a pick or two, and have an okay day, but nothing crazy with touchdowns. And if you don't have him, that's what you're hoping for, so that it doesn't kill you. So I'm going to try to pay even a little bit further down than them. I think 4,900 is a little steep. But again, we'll see. We may have the money. I mean, if we throw them in, it leaves us 7,700 for these 4 players, which is really good. We may be able to go to Minnesota and just lock them in for cash and just be real safe with it. But let me talk about some other Ds I like. So besides Minnesota, I like the Eagles. They're way better at home. Andy Luck throws picks. They don't have a great offensive line. Philly's got a great defensive line. They should be able to get after the quarterback. That place is going to be fired up with Wentz's first game back. So like them. I think that they can do some damage. The Texans, I don't think, are terrible. The Giants' offense has been horrific. So why not take advantage of that and just attack the Giants? That may be something that we look to do almost every single week, is just attack them. Their line is so bad. Watt's on the other side. He's going to have a field day. Really be able to get up to the quarterback. Jadeveon Clowney is back this week. So they have people who can cause that line a lot of problems. So I like the Texans. The Bears, again, another team I like as well. They get a terrible Arizona team who can't score any points, can't move the football. And it's just pretty much decided not to utilize their best offensive weapon. So Chicago is good, and when you have Khalil Mack, you can always have the opportunity for a couple big plays. Keep moving down the list. The Dolphins, I don't think, are bad. They get Oakland at home, and they've been putting up a lot of fantasy points. You look at Miami, 13 both weeks, causing turnovers and not letting up a lot of points. And Dallas is another defense I like too. I think that Seattle has a lot of the same issues the Giants have in that their line is so bad that it's really hurting their overall offense. And Seattle doesn't have weapons either. One thing the Giants do is they at least have weapons on the outside. Seattle's missing Baldwin. They don't know what they got at the running back position. They're kind of going with a split between Penny and Carson. Who knows if either is really that good. So they're relying on Russell Wilson to do everything. So this game is going to be ugly. I like Dallas's defense. I don't even think Seattle's defense you could go after too, but they're just too expensive for me up here when I could just grab the Eagles or the Texans or the Bears. But Dallas, if I really want to pay down, is a good option as well. So those are kind of the defenses that I like. Let's go and slot in. Let's slot in the Bears for now and see where that takes us. So let's start building this out now. So if we go to receiver, we really like Julio and Michael Thomas. Let's go with Julio to start. Let's see if we could find kind of a middle wide receiver. We like Will Fuller. And I do like Robert Woods, but I don't know if I want to go there in cash. See, this really depends on what we want in our flex. If we go over our flex, if we do Alvin Kamara, what does that leave us? 6,900. I think we can do Emmanuel Sanders. We can. Yeah, so that looks pretty good to me. We've got Garoppolo. We went with Murray and Clement at running back. Go with the value there in good spots. We get Julio, Will Fuller, who I think has a great matchup, Emmanuel Sanders, who's just been kind of a lock-in cash guy for me all year. We got Kittle. We're able to fit Kamara in, who we think is the highest scoring player in the slate. And then we go Chicago Bears defense, who we like as well. So let me just see one thing. So we had Kittle. We said we can maybe go down to Ebron, which would save us $300. But I don't know that helps us because 4,600 can't get up to the Vikings. And wide receiver, yeah, I can't get up anywhere either here because Baldwin's out. I don't like T.Y. Hilton better than Fuller. So I think I like this lineup. This is a solid team. We got exposure to some big games. Exposure to San Francisco, Kansas City. Exposure to New Orleans and Atlanta. And then just solid cash play options all around, taking advantage of the value plays. So this is just an example. I think that there's a bunch of different ways you could go. My main advice for this week is to try to get as much New Orleans, Atlanta, Kansas City, and San Fran in your cash games as you can. I think that those are just going to be the highest scoring games, and that's what I want, pieces of. So that's kind of the main advice I'd give just going into this from a high level perspective. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, a like would be great. Leave any comments, any questions that you have, and I will definitely try to answer them before things lock on Sunday afternoon. Subscribe to the channel too if you've been enjoying the content. I'm gonna keep producing these videos, and if you guys have any specific type of videos that you'd like me to come out with, just leave a comment or send me a message or something, and I can definitely try to accommodate that as well. So good luck this week. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.